Shabbat Shalom. I was thinking about Shabbat this morning, and I'm not really sure how I came across thinking about the Maccabees as well, but I did, and I wanted to say Shabbat Shalom, especially since we just found out that my dog, who I named Maccabee, is doing much better. He had to have surgery on his foot, and I had been concerned that he might lose his foot, but the Lord is good and gracious and has preserved him. So I wanted to share a little bit about Shabbat because um, I just sometimes I think that people kind of miss the point, and I think the story of the Maccabees really shows us that Shabbat is about, like everything in the Torah, is about life, and the world's gonna try to use that to control you and to maybe even kill you. But the Maccabees showed us that even on Shabbat, you need to defend life. Life is what is important, and if you make it so that you can't do anything to protect on Shabbat, then do you see? Because you have to keep the law so perfectly. This is not um, this is not God's way. He wants life for his people, and Yeshua healed the sick on Shabbat, and he did things that he needed to on Shabbat. And is it a sacred day? Absolutely. I keep it, right? I do. So I wanted to share a little bit about Maccabee, my dog, because this Shabbat's just really happy for me. I had been praying about having a larger dog because I was living alone with my children, and there were people who wanted to harm me. And this wasn't like, oh, I'm just fearful. This was a fact. So I had prayed, and I couldn't afford a large dog, and I just really, it all had started with a dream. And in the dream, I saw this dog this creature running towards me, and I was like, is it a bear? What is that, right? Anyway, well, needless to say, it was a kind of dog, and it kind of tackled me, and it was loving me, not trying to attack me. And I just really was like, wow, this is the kind of dog I should have. And then I had another dream, and so these dreams kept coming up, and so I decided to look into the breed that my dog is, and I found it, and I was like, wow, I think this is what I need. I prayed about it, and the Lord gave me a very specific town to look in. Now I had looked, and these dogs are very expensive. I was like, I can't afford these, right? And so I looked in the town, and sure enough, there was a breeder in that town, which was like 4 hours away from me, something like that, maybe 5. And it just so happened that this breeder had just had an extra large litter, and so she was trying to get rid of the last few dogs. And I was like, well, I'll take one, and she gave it to me for like a third of the price it should have been. And I was like, wow. So then Casimir, my youngest, he had a dream. He's like, well, I had a dream that we were bringing home 2 dogs. And I was like, well, I'm not getting 2 dogs. This is not happening. And he's like, oh, well, then somebody else I know found out I was getting this dog, and they're like, can you go pick the other dog up that she has, the breeder? And sure enough, and so as I'm driving, I realize we're bringing home 2 dogs, but it gets better. It gets better. So I'm thinking about naming my dog. I'm thinking, well, what should I name this dog after I get him home? And I thought, oh, I'll name him Methuselah. And my friend was like, great, then we can call him Meth. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And then, and then, then I said, well, maybe I'll name him Samson, right? And my older son said, well, that's great until we have to cut his hair. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm sitting there, and I was like, thinking about why I was getting this animal really was because I needed protection. especially when I was resting, when I was sleeping, something to alert me of danger. Um, and so I said, well, I'll name him Maccabee. And I was like, Lord, is this a good name? I think it's, I wanted his approval. And it was kind of like, I got this sense that it's my choice what to name him. And I'm like, well, do you think it's a good name? Like, I just want to know. And then he told me to go over to a part of my yard that I hadn't been in a while. I have an acre and a half. And some guys had been there like 2 days before to move a log splitter that I wasn't going to use. So I hadn't even gone over to look. Well, I walk over, and sure enough, I look down at the ground, and they had left a hammer. The Hebrew hammer, right? Maccabee. So I was like, okay, I guess his name is Maccabee. So when we rest and we enjoy Shabbat, we have to also recognize that to have peace, sometimes people have to make war. Sometimes people have to fight so that we can have that peace. And that's what the Maccabees did. The Maccabees fought. And when they were attacked on Shabbat, I think Josephus, and I could be wrong, so you'd have to look this up, 1,000 men, women, and children died because they didn't fight. And the Maccabees decided to fight even on Shabbat. And we enjoy that peace, but know that that peace came at a price. Somebody had to fight for it. And maybe someday that'll be you. Have a great Shabbat and enjoy your family and your friends, and most importantly, the Lord.